You are listening to The Black Landscape with Andrea Spearman, where Black excellence is always trending. Welcome back. I'm your host, Andrea Spearman, and this is The Black Landscape, where we engage with emerging and established Black leaders here in the San Francisco Bay Area. I am a light-skinned Black woman with my dark brown curly hair, currently in two-strand twists up in a bun. I'm wearing my black and brown glasses and a dark red knitted sweater. Today we are here with Akili Well founders Alexis Henry and Josie Santiago. Please describe yourselves to our listeners. Alexis, please go first.
Hello, I'm Alexis. I would say medium tone. I was just buying some tights earlier and I was like, what am I? I would say I'm medium tone brown. I'm wearing also a brown poncho and with straight hair, my hair wearing down and with green glasses.
Hi, everyone. My name is Josie Santiago and I am a light-skinned woman in a white head wrap with hair in twists, afro hair and twists, and a white, very cozy, fluffy looking sweater ready for the winter.
Yes, we got to stay bundled up. It's chilly out here. Yes. So ladies, it is so exciting to be able to talk to you today and amplify women entrepreneurs. So let's start from the beginning. Did you both grow up here? Because Alexis told me before the chat that she's in New York. So talk to me.
Should I start? Okay. No, I was born and raised in New York, in the Bronx. I've lived a few different places. I've lived in Oklahoma. I've lived in Peru. I've lived in Panama. And I visited Oakland a few times to visit Josie, mostly. But yeah. And then I've always come back to New York.
Oh, you a world traveler.
That would be accurate.
Very accurate. Yeah, and this is Josie speaking. And I did not grow up in the Bay Area. I actually grew up in Southern California in a small town called Barstow, California. And about 13 years ago, I moved up to the Bay Area and I just was like, oh, this is it. This is the space I want to be, the culture, the people, all of it's so great.
That's what's great about the Bay Area is like people come here and then, like Josie, we hook you, you stay. We're going to get Alexis to come on back a couple more times.
It's compelling. It's a compelling place.
Right. I've been trying.
I got a flight alert on all the time.
So let's start with Alexis. And I would love for you to give us a little bit more background about yourself and also about We Are Talking. What is that? Where did it come from?
Yeah. So I'm the founder of We Are Talking, and I started it really because I needed this information. I remember my first job, I started actually my career in education. I worked in education policy, and you start and you get all the paperwork from HR and they're like, all right, 401k. And I always heard like save for retirement. But then I was like, when it was time, I was like, I didn't really know what to do. And so I turned to my colleague and I was like, what do I do with this? And he's like, I don't know. I did what that guy did. And I turned to that guy and I was like, he's like, I don't know. I did what this guy did. And I was like, nobody knows.
Oh, Lord.
Okay. And so it's like money is the thing that like no one wants to talk about, but like we all need this information. And I did a survey. I questioned over 100 people and everyone was like, how did you know what you know about money? And everyone's like, well, someone told me. So it's like, okay, how do we both break down the stigma that we don't want to talk about it so that we can talk about it and then therefore like build our education. And also I had just like a lot of friends who I did feel safe talking about money with. And we all kind of were like griping of like the money advice that we saw at the time was very white. There was like Susie Orman and like Dave Ramsey and like I'm the child of immigrants. And so there's like a cultural aspect that just doesn't get included as well in most money conversations. And so I just saw an opportunity to kind of like get my friends together and be like, oh, we're talking about it. And then it's kind of, it built from there into just like a lot of different events and coaching opportunities. So now that's We Are Talking. We just make a space for people to talk about money, particularly people of color, just so that we can kind of see ourselves in this conversation in our own cultural context. And And I also like to make it fun. That's my other thing.
Mm-hmm.
So we have like money brunch. Pre-pandemic, we had brunch. You know, you get a little mimosa in you. You're like, yes, I'll tell you about my budget. You know, and so we've transitioned a bit now that we need to do some things more virtual. But yeah, always make it fun, make it accessible, make it relatable.
Yes, because financial literacy and education is part of wellness.
Yes. Yeah. 100%.
And you know, we're starting to make that connection as Black folks, as minority and other BIPOC folks. Is like we're starting to make that connection that wellness doesn't end with just inner care, outer care. It's also finances, because that affects on how you can take part in those other things.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
You're selling it for me. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. And that information will be in the caption for this podcast, best believe. So how does that lead into you and Josie connecting?
Well, Josie and I, we met in Peru. We were roommates. We were talking. Really, it's all about like we just have conversations.
Right. Again, conversations.
And Josie is the wellness. I bring the money. Josie brings the healing. Josie was doing yoga at the time, and you know, we really just started to like collaborate. And I think exactly what you just said of like financial wellness is wellness too, right? And like that self-care. And so I think it like the cross path was just really obvious when we were in the same space.
Now, Josie, tell us a bit about your background and yoga, and how did you get to Peru?
I know that's a lot, right? How did we meet in Peru? Actually, so both of us, prior to doing what we do now, we were teachers, and through this network that we were a part of, they invited us, a bunch of teachers, to do volunteer work abroad. And
that's how they get you.
Yeah. And so
I don't think we needed much selling.
We were ready to travel. We were ready to go in our own individual lives. And so we both went to Peru. We both signed up for this program, and that's how we met. And we, like she said, we were roommates. At that time, I actually had just finished my yoga teacher training. So I had just become certified in yoga, and I had practiced yoga and then got certified in yoga and studied yoga, in particularly because I was actually going through a traumatic body experience in which I injured my back, and then I had somebody tried to break into my house, and so I was going
Lord,
through that. So there was a lot, right, that I was dealing with, and I was like, I found yoga as a deep source of healing for me, and so I was like, I'm going to study this. But when I got to Peru and I had finished my certification, and I told Alexis about it, and I was, practicing every morning. She was like, you need to start a business. And she was like, you're good at this. Like, you should start a business, invite people to join you. And actually, while we were in the program, I did invite folks that were also in the program to practice yoga with me regularly every day. And I actually really enjoyed it. And so with her encouragement, that is really a big part of how Akili Well was founded, through a lot of her encouragement. And then also just my desire for us to be well. I think especially in marginalized communities, because of the historical context that we live in, we haven't had a lot of access to care and healthcare. And so I really am about uplifting and giving access to BIPOC people and BIPOC communities. And so my focus around wellness is centering those populations, even though I do serve everyone, because I really want us to normalize wellness.
Yes.
That is so important for us to like really prioritize our wellness, because if we're not well, what are we giving? What are we giving out? So, yeah, Akili Well is a wellness service, and we offer yoga, coaching, and workshops to individuals, companies, and groups. And so we support people in increasing their well-being and support organizations in developing cultures of well-being.
Yes. And so how did it get from Peru to the U.S., and why the name Akili? What does that mean? What does that have place for you?
Yeah. So it got from Peru to the US by me just coming back to the Bay Area. I was like, the program was over. I wish we could have stayed there longer, but I was like, I'm coming back. And I actually didn't start the business right away. It took me a while to like get it up and going. And so I would do like donation-based classes at first, work with different organizations and just teach yoga. And then in 2021 is when I actually officially launched the business with all the comprehensive support that I offer now.
Oh, wow. So y'all still fresh.
Fresh. Yeah. I'm fresh with Akili Well. Yeah. I was like on the brink of burnout with this job. And I was like, again, I'm in a system and in an institution that isn't really fully supporting my wholeness, doing more harm than help. And so what would it be like for me to be in control of my own life and my schedule and my what I can offer, and not have that level of harm that the institutions kind of bring. And so that's when I launched, and that's how it came to the US. But let me see. What was your second question? I forgot that fast.
Akili.
Oh, Akili Well.
Yes.
For Akili is, I really wanted to make it rooted in the African diasporic culture. And Akili is a Kiswahili word, and it means, and there's a lot of different variations, smart, wisdom, intelligence. And so Akili meaning wisdom for me, smart, and then wellness. So wisdom well, because we all have a wisdom well inside of us. We're evolutionary beings that have just awesome wisdom, ancestral wisdom connected to us. And if we could tap into it, it brings great healing and health.
Yes. You all are helping folks to tap in to what's inside and what's outside, networking and allowing others to support you. Because that's a issue as well in the Black and brown communities, that issue of support and asking for it. It's like, and acknowledging like, okay, I do not have this all together. Need some support.
Yeah, that's so true. And that was actually a lot of my story with We Are Talking, because I was talking as I would talk to different people, I found like everyone had like their little expertise, but everyone's like in this mindset of like, oh, it's just me, like I know this piece, I don't know the rest of it, and we'll never figure out the rest of it. But once we like bridge that gap and like have that community, we find out that like, oh yeah, it's like, oh, together we're all like one financially well, healthy, happy person. And so the more that we can have those connections, I think it's important.
Exactly. It's like everybody always is in that bubble of like, I'm the only one going through this. No, you ain't. You're not. I promise. Like there is, again, and that's why having Akili Well and other support systems and organizations just being able to provide and open those lines of communication, of talking to people, of talking to, and having those open spaces to be able to have those conversations, I think is a large part of it. There's some other organizations in the Bay Area that I've talked to that, sometimes it starts off as an open circle that's centered around art or poetry, and it branches out into, okay, now we're talking about business circles. Now we're talking about more affinity groups that like trickle down, like women entrepreneurs, Black women entrepreneurs, indigenous folk, or just making and opening those networking circles and circles of safe spaces for connection and community is really important.
Right. And that's a large part of why we also began working on money and healing. And one of the things that we see with our series, Money and Healing, is that the sacred space for us to just be vulnerable, authentic, and honest with each other, it provides so much transformation and care and support. So it's great.
Yeah, talk a little bit more about the Money and Healing course.
Mm-hmm. You want to start, Alex? Or want me to tell you? I can tell you how it originated. I think so. Back in 2019, I was really wanting to have a women of color retreat, and I was planning to have a women of color retreat with most my closest friends, so that we could just have a space where we could like rejuvenate, relax, refresh, feel ready to go back into the world with a new energy. And so I was formulating and planning that alongside Alexis, because Alexis is my like number one encouragement. And I was planning that alongside Alexis, and I asked her to bring in the conversation around money in this retreat, and if she could hold a space and workshop around money in this wellness retreat. And I asked her, like, what is money and wellness look like? And Alexis, do you want to fill in anything from there?
Yeah, I didn't have an answer. I remember really spending a lot of time thinking about like, what is that? And it's something that was a part of my practice, but I didn't have, like, when I would coach clients, I would have to talk about like, all right, I can tell you how to do the budget, but like, are you gonna do that? And why? We have to talk about like, why is that happening or not, right? Like, it may not be about the budget. There's always like something else in our life that everything's connected to money, right? Like, it's not just of like, do I know how to spend? It's like, well, how else is my environment set up to like support me in whatever goal I have? So I took that question kind of seriously and just really spent a lot of time reflecting on like, what is money and wellness. And I found a book that spoke to it. There was only one at the time. So I like came back to Josie. Josie had come to visit, and we like kind of really sparked this conversation about like, what could this conversation be?
Right. And I remember us in New York, we were in like a hotel lobby, and she was literally carrying the book around with her. I was like, all right, let's talk about this. And we started to noodle on it and noodle on what is money and wellness look like, and why is it that we don't talk about it in an emotional and psychological way often. We have it is a very much an emotional and psychological experience for us, not just a tool that we use. And so we really sat with that and talked about it, prepared to create something for this retreat. And then the pandemic happened, and we canceled the retreat, but we still wanted to continue on with the money and healing, because it felt like, if money and wellness, it felt like something that was really fruitful and new and fresh and needed. And so Alexis continued to noodle and work on the curriculum and worked on the series, and then brought me in as a facilitator, and we continued to evolve it and iterate on it. And now we have, our 8th cohort that we're working with. I know.
Whoa.
So,
yes.
Awesome. I was like, I've never been one to hear a no. So I'm like, oh, we're going to shut down? All right. We can pivot to another direction. We can create this another way.
That's one thing a Black woman know how to do, is pivot, okay?
It's also funny because that book, like, we didn't know that, right? But like, the pandemic happened, so like the libraries, everybody shut down. So I had that book for like 4 months, like before we could actually physically go back and return it. So it felt kind of also like there's a sign here, like we have to. It was like, this is an opportunity you wouldn't have had otherwise.
Yep, it was meant for you to have that extended time so you can really dive into that book and share with others.
And we really had to like do a lot of that translation, because as I kind of mentioned before, like a lot of this money advice tends to be very like white focused. And so as this book was, and so we're like, well, how would we tell this story? And how would we create a community of people who feel like they can be a part of that conversation?
Absolutely. And right now we're going to take a short break. To catch up on previous episodes of The Black Landscape, download on Apple Podcasts, Buzzsprout, and Google Podcasts. When we come back, we will hear more from Alexis and Josie. When you are shopping for essentials, isn't it annoying to see the high-priced brand labels for basic everyday products? Try Brandless instead. Brandless is one of the world's fastest growing commerce platforms. They make it easier for people to take better care of themselves, their families, and the planet by working with the best ingredients, partners, and customers to drive community-led innovation and validation. By focusing on collaboration over control, quality over packaging, and people over promotion, they're leading a movement that believes that making better choices should be simple and easy. All of their products are high quality, yet offered at simple, fair prices. I've been using the essential oils of eucalyptus and lavender in my home for years and given out many gift baskets from their beauty line. Just last year, I purchased a set of wine glasses and a cheese platter kit that has been used for many family gatherings. For every product sold at Brandless, you can be sure that they've scoured the world to research and meet the quality gold standards for that category. They really prioritize offering products that match people's values, preference, and requirements. Whether it be organic, non-toxic cleaning supplies or cruelty-free and clean personal care products free of over 400 questionable ingredients. Their products are crafted with intention, so you can brand less and live more. Get 15% off your purchase today by using the link in my bio. Try Brandless today and save on beauty, health, and home decor. We are back with the Keelywell founder, Josie Santiago, and We Are Talking founder, Alexis Henry. So ladies, before the break, we were talking about financial literacy, the Money and Healing course, which fantastic, because that's how we need to connect across communities as women, as BIPOC women, as BIPOC folks in general. What are the other services that a Keelywell is providing or in collaboration with others?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, actually, we, like I mentioned before, we have yoga, we have coaching, and we have now just launched a wellness in the workplace workshop series. So I partner with other small businesses and facilitators, independent contractors to collaborate and work on workshops. And this is one of them. It's a 3-part workshop series with ongoing coaching so that we can support organizations in transforming their culture to be more inclusive and to incorporate well-being into their everyday practices. And I started to pivot towards working with organizations because I'm like, okay, if we really want to start changing systems, let's start working with some of these institutions and really support the shift there and see how that can grow and ripple out and impact individuals. And then we have Money and Healing, of course. So those are really I would say the 4 components of a Keelywell. And I partner with Alexis from We Are Talking to run Money and Healing.
Yes. It's so nice to see multi-layered business that all are essentially connected together because they center around wellness. So they're giving you the physical with yoga. They're giving you coaching. That's the emotional component of accountability and checking in with each other. We have this opportunity for financial literacy. This is so wonderful to see more of us in collaboration and in connectivity.
Yeah, I'm a collaborative leader and I feel like I thrive when I am in collaboration with others, but also we're diverse and the diversity brings much more generativity, much more possibility. And so I'm like, I don't have all the answers. Let me find somebody I could partner with and let's make this better. And I have no problems with that. And yeah, I think it's so important for me to have that what people sometimes call like wraparound program. Like I really want to be holistic. We're talking about the body. We're talking about the mind. We're talking about spirit. In many of the things that we work through, or source for some people, right? Maybe they don't identify with spirit, but their source for being alive and connected. So yeah, it's so important to think of us as whole beings and to really connect to all of the different parts. And that's what each of the components of my business does.
Absolutely. So, Alexis, what's the next step or goal for either or for We Are Talking and for, Money and Healing course? Because I know you want to build upon that.
Yeah. For money and healing, we are actively recruiting right now for our next cohort, and so we're continuing to look to kind of expand our audience and serve more people, and we're even considering like different settings. We've kind of been hosting this virtually, but like if there's a institution or a larger partner that we can work with to like make this more of a systemic offering that people can get, I think that's something that we're considering in the next steps. Just as how can we reach more people? Is the goal. There's just been, and like it's interesting because like now I feel like it's way more trending. I feel like when we started, money and healing or financial wellness wasn't really a conversation, and now it's becoming part of people's lexicon. So it's like, all right, now how can we make this more normalized? And with We Are Talking, I'm kind of like coming back into the world of like we transitioned into doing virtual things. So like we have a money and cooking workshop, and so because we couldn't go out for brunch anymore, so we had a chef come in and teach us how to make a meal, and then I talk about a different financial topic, and so it's just a way to recreate that money and brunch experience online, and just continuing to like my space that I really love is just helping people get their financial life together. If you're like, I don't know how these parts go together, that's a thing that I love doing when I'm coaching people. And so really just like deepening those opportunities to have those workshops and to build people's knowledge around investing, budgeting, savings, and how to make that in alignment with your values and with your life experiences, right? Like as opposed to these being separate conversations.
Absolutely. We gonna chat after about that. And also I'll probably be sending some people to you for some understanding, because those are much needed conversations.
Yes. And, and to continue to make it fun, right? Because people think about, I love talking about money. Like when I say I love it. Like I put in everybody, every time I introduce myself, I'm like, oh, you want to talk about retirement? I would love to. And so like, I would love to see other people too have that like enjoyment of it. Because it's also a way for us to like take that control back, right? Like I was just talking with a friend this morning. We went on a walk and she's like, we have to celebrate because we went and it's snowing and we went on a walk, and like you feel like you can take control. You actually can go outside when the weather's not so great. And I think the same is true of like your money or anything that's like that you might have this relationship to that feels a little bit dreadful. We can make it fun and we can make it enjoyable, and then we take that control over that thing.
Yes, because people's relationship with money is so tense and fraught with trauma a lot of the time, especially in the Black community. So I really enjoy your excitement and zest for wanting to transform that relationship.
Yep. That's my goal. That's my goal.
And Josie, with Akili Well, what's the next things? What's the future?
Yeah. So the future is continuing to work with organizations with this wellness and leadership workshop series. And I'm starting to do more healing circles for women of color. And so we're actually doing our first one tomorrow. So I'm excited to continue to just offer free services for people of color and support their well-being and their healing. Yeah, growing my clientele in terms of coaching as well. So really just expanding out as far as I can with my services.
That sounds wonderful. And also we hope to see you, expand and grow and find more collaborative partners in this wellness transformation of the landscape. Thank you both so much for sharing with us today.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Where can the people find you online?
People can find me at Josie at akiliwell.com, ILIWELL.com. Or if they can find me I'm on Facebook and on IG. I don't have all the other ones. So IG and Facebook are the ones, and they're all Akili Well.
And this is Alexis. You can find We Are Talking on Instagram at We Are Talking _ excuse me. And you can directly go to our Money and Healing website by going to bit.ly/apply-MH.
All right. Thank you both again so much. And thank all of you out there who are listening and supporting another season. This has been another episode of The Black Landscape, where Black excellence is always trending.